This is wrestling's greatest moments.
Hey now, it's time for another episode of Wrestling's Greatest Moments. SummerSlam may be the biggest party of the summer, but there were many other summer sizzlers that entertained wrestling fans long before. Sit back as Wrestling's Greatest Moments looks back at some of the 80s hottest summer shows. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video. Championship Wrestling from Florida. The Last Tangle in Tampa, 1980. Eddie Graham's Championship Wrestling from Florida territory was considered a prestige territory, and in 1980 it was going strong, as seen by the tremendous turnout for its August 3, 1980 Tampa Stadium show, The Last Tangle in Tampa. This show featured 12 bouts, including a WWF Championship defense by Bob Backlund against Don Morocco and an NWA Championship defense by Harley Race against Dusty Rhodes. Andre the Giant pinned the Super Destroyer, and future WWF Women's Champion Wendy Richter appeared, winning a 7-woman Battle Royale. Lords of the Ring, 1984. The Orange Bowl was a location for Championship Wrestling from Florida's June 30th, 1984 Lords of the Ring show. This card was packed with 10 matches, including the requisite NWA World Champion defense. Dusty Rhodes defeated Ric Flair in 2 out of 3 falls, but failed to capture the world title since the third fall was won via disqualification, which gave Rhodes a win to send the fans home happy, but also gave Flair an out to keep the belt. Battle of the Belts. Championship Wrestling from Florida launched its Battle of the Belts Supercard in 1985. The first show took place at the Sun Dome in Tampa, Florida, and was highlighted by a 2 out of 3 falls bout between NWA World Champion Nature Boy Ric Flair and Wahoo McDaniel. The show featured a wild brawl between the Road Warriors and the rugged team of Harley Race and Stan Hansen. This event drew 7,600 fans and launched 2 sequels. Battle of the Belts 2 aired on February 14, 1986, but the third and final show returned on September 1, 1986. Ric Flair battled Lex Luger in a 2 out of 3 falls match, while the Road Warriors fought Ed Gantner and Kareem Muhammad. Maple Leaf Wrestling Night of Champions, 1983. In 1983, Maple Leaf Wrestling promoter Jack Tunney held not 1, but 2 summer supercards in Toronto, Ontario. Jack, the nephew of legendary Canadian promoter Frank Tunney, had recently taken over the business following his uncle's death in May of 1983. Maple Leaf Wrestling had been working with Jim Crockett Promotions for several years, with each territory sharing talent. This made for some star-studded shows at Maple Leaf Wrestling's home base, Maple Leaf Gardens. However, the show Tunney had in mind called for someplace bigger. On July 10, 1983, Tunney held a Night of Champions at Toronto's Exhibition Stadium. The card was headlined by an NWA World Heavyweight Championship defense by Harley Race against former champion Nature Boy Ric Flair. The card featured 8 other marquee matches, including former Canadian Football League star turned wrestler Angelo Mosca defending the Canadian Heavyweight Championship against the One-Man Gang. According to the site Pro Wrestling History, the show drew 20,703 fans, bringing in $239,000. Maple Leaf Wrestling Return of the Champions, 1983. Perhaps wanting to strike while the iron was hot, Tunney held a second stadium show just 2 weeks later. Return of the Champions took place on July 24, 1983 at Exhibition Stadium, and like the first show, it was a star-studded affair, this time with 10 matches. The main event featured an NWA World Championship rematch between Harley Race and challenger Ric Flair, this time with wrestler Johnny Weaver serving as special referee. Once again, Canadian Heavyweight Champion Angelo Mosca put his title on the line, defending it against heel wrestler Sergeant Slaughter. Slaughter stunned the fans when he beat Mosca for the title. While the first show was a success, Tunney may have overplayed his hand by holding a second show so close to the first. This card only drew 11,000 fans, bringing in $130,000. Hardly chump change, but far less than the previous supercard. Mid-South Wrestling. Mid-South Wrestling had some cards that were too big for a regular arena. At least promoter Bill Watts hoped so, which led to occasional shows at New Orleans Superdome, the home of the NFL's New Orleans Saints. These shows occurred throughout the year, including some huge events in the summertime. There are far too many to mention here, but let's look at one that has become legendary, not only for its main event, but for its sensational undercard. Fans swarmed to the New Orleans Superdome on August 2nd, 1980, to watch another of the promotion's Superdome extravaganzas. This show was headlined by a feud involving the heel trio, the Fabulous Freebirds, and the promotion's beloved babyface, the Junkyard Dog. Things kicked off when Freebird Michael Hayes blinded the JYD in a vicious post-match attack, rubbing Freebird hair removal cream in the Dog's eyes. The Birds had lost a hair versus hair match against JYD, but proved themselves the epitome of sore losers by their actions. As detailed in the book, Wrestling's Greatest Moments, Bill Watts made sure the angle was played to the hilt, filming vignettes of the JYD struggling to cope with his vision loss. The story was made all the more tragic when it was revealed the Dog had recently become a father and was now unable to see his newborn daughter. To say Hayes had heat would be an understatement, as an enraged fan once rushed into the ring with a gun, with Hayes narrowly avoiding serious injury or worse. The storyline culminated in a main event featuring a steel cage dog collar match between the JYD and Hayes. The JYD triumphed with a record crowd of 28,000 showing up, filling Mid-South's coffers with $183,000. On the undercard, Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant continued their popular program, while Dusty Rhodes and Buck Robley vanquished the Freebirds Terry Gordy and Buddy Roberts in a double bull rope match. Mid-South would hold many more Superdome cards, but nothing as popular as this one. NWA Polynesian Pro Wrestling Hot Summer Night, 1985. For many years, Hawaii's NWA Polynesian Pro Wrestling was an attractive territory for fans and wrestlers alike. Wrestlers from around the globe would come to the promotion to work some dates and enjoy the beautiful weather and scenery. On August 3, 1985, promoter Leah Maivia, who had taken the promotion after her husband Peter Maivia's death in 1982, aired a supercard at Honolulu's Aloha Stadium. This mega event featured 16 matches, including appearances from wrestlers from New Japan Pro Wrestling, the American Wrestling Association, and the National Wrestling Alliance. The show even featured an appearance from the WWF's Andre the Giant and King Kong Bundy, who rarely appeared outside the promotion once Vince McMahon decided to take the company national. Andre teamed with Angelo Mosca and Steve Collins, beating the trio of King Kong Bundy, Mark Lewin, and Kevin Sullivan via disqualification. Details are scarce, but one theory is that the show's affiliation with New Japan Pro Wrestling eased the influx of WWF talent, given the WWF's business arrangement with New Japan. Regardless, the show set a new Wrestling Gate record, grossing over $100,000 with 12,500 fans attending. Maivia held a Hot Summer Night 2 the following year, but no shows in bad weather led to a paltry turnout, believed to be around 1,900 fans. Jim Crockett Promotions. Although Jim Crockett Promotions was known for booking holiday spectaculars to capitalize on fans having time off and looking for something to do, the promotion leveled up in 1985. The Great American Bash. In 1985, Jim Crockett Promotions booker and wrestler Dusty Rhodes concocted a stadium show to capitalize on some of the popular programs taking place in the promotion. The result was the Great American Bash, an event headlined by a steel cage match between Dusty Rhodes and World Television Champion Tully Blanchard, and an NWA World Heavyweight Championship defense by Nature Boy Ric Flair against wrestling's answer to Ivan Drago, the Russian Nightmare Nikita Koloff. As detailed in our video, How Great Was the Great American Bash?, the show was held at the American Legion Memorial Stadium and proved so successful that it became an annual tradition. That was only the beginning, as Jim Crockett Promotions ambitiously turned the one event into a national tour. The Great American Bash eventually became a pay-per-view, and the tour was the birthplace of Dusty Rhodes' imaginative, not to mention brutally violent, War Games match. The Bash lives on to this day, as the WWE brought it back in the early 21st century, and more recently to its NXT brand. World Class Championship Wrestling. Star Wars. Fritz von Erichs' World Class Championship Wrestling did strong business in the 80s, so much so that Von Erich eventually split from the NWA, a story Wrestling's Greatest Moments will chronicle in a future video. The promotion's ability to consistently run financially successful stadium shows for several years is a testament to its popularity. World Class branded its supercards as Star Wars, holding them on holidays including Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. In addition, the promotion held big events at the Cotton Bowl and its annual Parade of Champions stadium shows. The Independence Day Star Wars shows followed the successful format of booking the Von Erich brothers in top roles, battling the area's biggest heels, often the fabulous Freebirds. Let's look at one of the biggest Star Wars events from Independence Day, 1984's, which was held at Fort Worth, Texas's Convention Center. This event was a good day for the fabulous Freebirds, who defeated Kerry, Kevin, and Mike Von Erich for the promotion's six-man title. The main event saw babyfaces Gentleman Chris Adams and Stella Mae French send heels Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin and Precious packing via a steel cage loser leaves town match. World Class held other Star Wars shows in the summer, including June 17, 1983's show at Dallas, Texas's Reunion Arena. There, NWA World Champion Harley Race defeated Kevin Von Erich, while Kerry Von Erich teamed with Bruiser Brody to capture the World Class American Tag Team Championship from Michael Hayes and Terry Gordy in the main event. Another interesting undercard bout saw David Von Erich defeat Jimmy Garvin to win Garvin and his valet Sunshine services for a day. WWF. While SummerSlam launched an annual summertime tradition for the WWF, the promotion had some significant summer shows before then. Showdown at Shea, 1980. August 9th, 1980, featured the third and last Showdown at Shea supercard, but the WWF knew how to go out with a bang. The white-hot feud between Bruno Sammartino and his protege-turned-blood enemy, Larry Zbyszko, headlined the show, with the beloved Bruno defeating Zbyszko in a steel cage match. The show featured stars from Japan, including Antonio Inoki and Tatsumi Fujinami, as well as other non-WWF talent such as Greg Gagne. Two highlights on the undercard included the Wild Samoans defending their WWF Tag Team Championship against the all-star team of Pedro Morales and the WWF champion Bob Backlund. While Morales and Backlund captured the belts, they were forced to relinquish them since the WWF only allowed a person to hold one belt at a time. Hulk Hogan fought Andre the Giant in a wild bout that would be just one of many as the heel Hogan sought to make a name for himself at Andre's expense. The big event, 1986. By 1986, Jack Tunney's partnership with Jim Crockett Promotions was long over, as he'd switched sides to the WWF. According to James Dixon's book, Titan Sinking, this was a lucrative deal that would give him, Tunney, a percentage of every house show that the company, the WWE, ran in Canada. Tunney in turn helped McMahon squash the other local territories in the country, playing a large role in helping him dominate the wrestling scene north of the border. In 1986, it was time for a return to Toronto's Exhibition Stadium, but this show would dwarf the previous wrestling shows held there. At the time, WWF champion Hulk Hogan was feuding with Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, with the program bringing in Boku bucks for everyone involved. The stars were in alignment for the big event, a combination of wrestling's popularity, low ticket prices, the highest price seat of $20 or roughly $42 today, and a multitude of matches, including several hot programs such as The Machines vs. Big John Studd, King Kong Bundy, and Bobby the Brain Heenan and Hercules vs. Billy Jack Haynes. Ultimately, the big event reportedly sold 64,100 tickets, boasting an $800,000 gate, setting an outdoor attendance record. Not for long though, as WrestleMania 3 eclipsed the record. WrestleFest, 1988. Although SummerSlam captured WWF fans' attention in the summer of 1988, the WWF also ran a major stadium show less than a month before. On July 31st, the WWF brought WrestleFest to Milwaukee's County Stadium, with 25,866 fans coming to watch Randy Savage successfully defend the WWF Championship against Ted DiBiase. Hulk Hogan's rivalry with Andre the Giant still had plenty of life left in it, and the two duked it out in a steel cage, with the Hulkster climbing out of the cage to victory. SummerSlam 1988. The WWF introduced a new pay-per-view in 1988 called SummerSlam. 1988's Royal Rumble was not a pay-per-view that year, as it aired on the USA Network, launching a show that has become one of the WWE's Big Four, and one often considered the second biggest show besides WrestleMania. The show that would later be nicknamed the biggest party of the summer debuted at Madison Square Garden, which still lived up to its name as the Mecca of professional wrestling. Like many WWF cards, this one featured a strong main event with a mixed undercard. The top bout featured the Mega Powers, Hulk Hogan and Randy Macho Man Savage battling the Mega Bucks, Ted DiBiase and Andre the Giant. The X Factors in the match were special referee Jesse Ventura and the Mega Powers manager Miss Elizabeth, who supposedly had a secret weapon she was prepared to unleash when necessary. The main event saw Ventura, a former heel wrestler who had transitioned into one of wrestling's greatest heel color commentators, keeping things less than fair. Fans wondered if Ted DiBiase had once again shown that everyone has a price by buying Ventura off for the match. However, when things looked bleak for the babyfaces, Miss Elizabeth revealed her secret weapon, ditching her skirt and showing off an itsy-bitsy teeny-weeny yellow bikini bottom. Red-blooded fans everywhere took notice, as did the heels, including Ventura, giving the babyfaces time to regroup and win the match. Other highlights include the Ultimate Warrior squashing the Honky Tonk Man in roughly 31 seconds after the soon-to-be former Intercontinental Champion issued an open challenge, and the Warrior answered it with a blitzkrieg-like attack. WWF Tag Team Champions Demolition defeated the Hart Foundation, while the British Bulldogs defeated the Fabulous Rougeaus. The show featured 10 matches and was the WWF's latest success. What do you think of our list? Do you remember any of these events? Did you attend any of them? Share your thoughts in the comment section and let us know if there are any videos you'd like wrestling's greatest moments to cover. In the meantime, subscribe to our channel, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and spread the good news about wrestling's greatest moments, the channel that celebrates the squared circle.